Call to order the Middletown Township Board of Supervisors meeting. Please stand in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Afterwards, please remain standing for a moment of silence while we acknowledge our fallen soldiers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Supervisor Gallardo, could you do roll call, please?
No problem. Ms. Hannah?
Here.
Mr. Layton?
Here.
Ms. Kane?
Here.
Mr. Kisiak?
Here.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings and events. Next Board of Supervisors meeting is Monday, May 11th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Supervisor Anna Payne Memorial Park dedication will be Friday, May 1st, 2026 at 4 o'clock p.m. at Cobalt Ridge Park. And our Earth Day event is going to be Saturday, April 25th, 2026 from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Core Creek Park. That's always a great event. And we have some special items and announcements and some proclamations. Our first is Local Government Month proclamation. Mr. Kizak.
This is a proclamation recognizing Local Government Month in Middletown Township. Whereas local governments throughout the Commonwealth provide valuable services to the citizens and of the communities they serve, and whereas in recognition of the work performed by local governments, the Pennsylvania General Assembly designated the week of April 6th through April 12th as Local Government Week in Pennsylvania, and whereas local government is often referred to as the level of government that is closest to the people, providing important citizen services such as law enforcement, public health and safety, recreational opportunities, and public works. And whereas many individuals, including employees of the township and numerous volunteers, participate in providing local government services to the residents and businesses in Middletown Township, and now therefore the Middletown Township Board of Supervisors proclaim that April 2026 is hereby designated as Local Government Month in Middletown Township. And now be it therefore resolved that the Middletown Township Board of Supervisors will continue to work to promote civic education and engagement in an effort to educate citizens about their local government, strengthen the sense of community, and engage the next generation of local government employees and volunteers. Middletown Township Board of Supervisors proclaim this day, the 13th of April, 2026.
Thank you, Supervisor Kizak. Supervisor Kane, could you read the Autism Awareness Month proclamation?
Proclamation recognizing Autism Awareness Month in Middletown Township, whereas autism is a complex developmental condition that affects communication, behavior, and social interaction, impacting individuals and families in diverse ways, and whereas early diagnosis, intervention, and access to support services can significantly improve the quality of life for individuals on the autism spectrum, empowering them to reach their full potential. And whereas it is essential to promote acceptance, inclusion, and understanding to foster a society where individuals with autism can thrive in their communities, schools, and workplaces. And whereas Autism Awareness Month serves as an opportunity to educate the public, support research efforts, and advocate for policies that enhance the well-being and rights of individuals with autism. And whereas communities, organizations, and individuals are encouraged to participate in activities that raise awareness and show solidarity with the autism community, fostering a more inclusive and supportive world for all. And now be it therefore resolved that the Middletown Township Board of Supervisors proclaims April as Autism Awareness Month, proclaim this day, the 13th of April, 2026.
Thank you, Supervisor Kane. Supervisor Layton, could you please read the Earth Day and Arbor Day proclamation?
Yes. This is a proclamation recognizing Earth Day and Arbor Day in Middletown Township, whereas Earth Day, celebrated annually on April 22nd, and Arbor Day, observed on the last Friday of April, serve as reminders of our responsibility to protect and preserve our natural environment for current and future generations. And whereas trees play a vital role in maintaining ecological balance by improving air quality, conserving water, reducing soil erosion, providing habitat for wildlife, and combating climate change through carbon sequestration. And whereas communities, organizations, and individuals are encouraged to engage in activities such as tree planting, waste reduction, water conservation, and environmental education to promote sustainability and ecological stewardship. And whereas it is imperative that we foster an awareness of the interconnectedness between humanity and the natural world, inspiring action towards a healthier planet. Now be it therefore resolved that Middletown Township Board of Supervisors hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2026 as Earth Day and Arbor Day in Middletown Township. I urge all citizens to participate in activities that support environmental sustainability, plant trees, and make conscientious choices to protect and preserve our planet for generations to come. Proclaim this day, the 13th of April, 2026.
Thank you, Supervisor Layton. Next, we have Supervisor Gallardo. Could you please read the life-saving recognitions for our fire and EMS proclamation?
With pleasure. This is a proclamation recognizing the life-saving actions. Whereas on July 6, 2025, members of the Pendle Middletown Emergency Squad and William Penn Fire Company responded to an emergency incident at 40 Forsythia Drive East involving a citizen in critical medical distress. And whereas, upon arrival, firefighters, emergency medical personnel, and police quickly assessed the situation and determined that the individual was experiencing cardiac arrest. And whereas, without hesitation, those responders initiated immediate, decisive, and highly skilled life-saving measures, including CPR, use of an AED, advanced airway management, and medication administration. And whereas, through their training, professionalism, teamwork, and calm response under pressure, these members were able to restore vital signs and stabilize the patient prior to transport. And whereas their actions directly contributed to saving the life of this individual, reflecting the highest traditions of the fire service and emergency medical profession. And whereas the courage, dedication, and commitment to public service demonstrated by these individuals exemplify the core values of Middletown Township and serve as an inspiration to both their colleagues and the community they serve. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the chairperson of the Board of Supervisors of Middletown Township hereby formally recognizes and commends paramedic Adam Brodigan, paramedic Channa Vialese, EMT Laura Horvath, EMT Ian Liberatore, firefighter Chris Russell, firefighter Andrew Conaway, firefighter Riley Collins, firefighter Jim Hewins, firefighter Chris Tomzak, firefighter James McCullough, and Bucks County Police Dispatcher Denises Castro for their outstanding and heroic actions in saving a life on July 6, 2025. Be it further proclaimed that we extend our sincere gratitude for their service, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of our community.
I apologize. We have to take a 5-minute break. We've lost audio. Deep breath in, deep breath out.
It's actually a good chance to let folks leave when they came from the fire.
Oh, yeah. If you came to celebrate and recognize the EMS and The fire personnel, you can leave now if you like to. You don't have to stay for the entire meeting. But you are more than welcome to. Okay, we have audio again. Wait for everybody to take their seats. Okay. All right. Next item on our agenda is public comment, non-agenda items.
Oh, that helps. You want me to say my name again? Dave Cahill, 462 Cynthia, Pendel. March 23rd, I attended a meeting at Pendel Borough Hall about the high-rise apartment complex that SEPTA's building. I just wanted to clear a few things up here at the microphone. This project is not in Pendel Borough, it's in Middletown Township, correct? Yes? So any approvals that need to be made are going to be made by the Middletown Supervisors, not by Pendel Borough Council or any of their boards or committees? Okay, is there a reason why that wasn't stated at last month's meeting? Yeah, why the supervisors never mentioned that the project wasn't in Pendel, that it was a Middletown Township project?
There's no application for the project. It is not in front of the supervisors yet. That was my understanding, just an informational meeting. They decided to hold it in Pendel.
So my question is why? If it's not in Pendel,
You would have to ask them. That was SEPTA's decision to do that, not the township's.
So I'd like to clear something else up. Mark Maffa is not an elected official of Pendel Borough. I hear that he's the Bucks County Treasurer. Is the Bucks County Treasury Department funding this project?
It's a SEPTA project, so those are questions for SEPTA. We don't know the answer to that. You understand that there's no project yet. There's no plan that's come before this board. SEPTA was just having a public information session to gauge interest and feedback, and they did it in Pendel for reasons you'd have to ask them. But there's no plan for any project in front of Middletown Township Board of Supervisors.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I'll just add, that was a meeting that SEPTA had set up. We were invited to it as Middletown, even if the work is proposed on the Middletown boundary. But our understanding was they had it at Pendel just due to the proximity to where the project is for folks to be able to find a close place.
Good evening. My name is Celeste Salvia. I'm here to plead with you. Langhorne Gardens. It's 1st Street, 2nd Street, 3rd Street, and 4th Street. All the years, there's been beautiful elderly people that have lived there that have now sold their homes to young families that have small babies and young children. The speed limit is 25, everybody's going 35. There's no stop signs, one at every corner instead of 4 stop signs. I was in an accident, someone smashed into me. There's no sidewalks, there's no lights. There's going to be tragedy at Langhorne Gardens, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Street. Enormous amount of babies and children, toddlers, riding their little bikes, their little big wheels. Cars are flying by. I'm pleading with you, all of you, please look at this and see what you can do to help us. There's no street lights, there's no pavements, there's no speed bumps, there's nothing. I'm here to save the children. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I think you pretty much said it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a Citizens Traffic Commission, so if you can share that with them, and we'll also share that with them.
Thank you so much. And I have a petition from many of the neighbors that would,
If you want to provide us your contact information, we might be able to have someone from the Traffic Commission contact you to try and get your input on that as well.
I've called over the past 2 years and no one, this is why I'm here.
Well, we
And-
talked to
We
Perry.
we will push it, we will talk to the commission itself, but I mean, we can have them contact you if you want to give me your information at some point.
We talked to Perry Warren, and he's at Harrisburg. He's the head guy for traffic safety, and he suggested that we come.
Yep, and it's the Middletown Township's Traffic Commission, so we have citizens that apprise that commission, so we
Thank you
can.
for your time, and I'm sure you don't want to see tragedy, so.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
This is my first time at the meeting, so I apologize. My name is Jacqueline Seabridge, 739 Madison Ave in Langhorne. I've been a resident in my home for 15 years, and I'm here today because of the chicken ordinance. It's been something that's been, talked about for the last 2 years, and it's constantly been rescheduled. It was supposed to be tonight, and it was rescheduled. And the reason why I'm out is because this is something that's really important to me and several other residents in this area. We had a petition, I believe it was 1,200 people, and it was really gaining momentum, but then we had the whole trash issue with everybody, being upset about, trash pickup and the trucks. So it kind of got tabled, but so this has been postponed for about 2 years now, and I wanted to know what is the reason for the postponement. It just seems like there's no transparency, it's something that seems like you're not interested in or you don't want to vote on, so it's constantly been kicked down the road. And now I'm here today because I'm a resident and I'm frankly upset. I took off of work, to come to these meetings, and they're constantly being postponed. And it's just disheartening, especially when the township continues to approve dense residential development and, smaller issues are being pushed aside. I understand that chicken ownership is not a huge thing on a lot of people's dockets, but, it's something that's important to some local, residents. Also, other townships have adopted, policies for chickens. We're pretty much the only township in this area that has not approved chickens. I can go over, all the different benefits of having chickens. I just feel like people are gonna have chickens regardless. I would rather see the township get revenue from something like having backyard chickens and have it monitored. I understand we don't want people having 50 chickens in their backyard, and we want to have a clean, sanitized, area for the chickens. But I just feel like there needs to be a decision made, what do you need us to bring to the meeting to kind of get this process along, and what documentation, plans. I mean, I can get information from other townships and their ordinances, but I would really like to have, this rectified, in the next couple months.
It has been something that we've been considering. Mr. Ennis, could you speak to it?
Oh, sorry.
So you're not wrong. It actually was a scheduled policy item for tonight, but not going to. I think you'll be able to figure out as we go a little bit deeper into the agenda as why some of the policy things got removed for tonight's agenda. It is going to be on the May agenda. We are working on kind of giving the board a menu of options that they can consider as far as how to handle the chickens. It will be, I'm going to say this, it will be on the May agenda. It was absolutely supposed to be on tonight's agenda, but a lot of policy discussions got removed for other reasons. No, we have some ideas. I mean, there's a multitude of ideas that they're going to consider, and you'll see during the May discussions. If you actually want, prior to the May meeting, I don't have the exact date in front of me. If you actually maybe want to contact me a couple of days before, I'd be more than happy to discuss what they're going to actually consider during that meeting. Okay.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Next agenda items, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following consent agenda items. Consent agenda item A, consideration of authorizing payment of April 13th, 2026 bills listed in the amount of $2,368,824.58. Consent agenda item B, consideration of approving March 9th, 2026 minutes of public meeting of the Middletown Township Board of Supervisors. Consent agenda item C, consideration of adopting resolution number 26-11R sewer planning module for the approved land development at 830 Old Lincoln Highway. Consent agenda item D, consideration to purchase inlet tops and collars through CoStar's Vending Premier Concrete, Inc. of Broomall, PA, not to exceed the budgeted amount of $160,000. Consent agenda item E, consideration of awarding Eureka Stone Quarry of Chalfont, PA, in the amount not to exceed $78,000 for the 2627 Bucks County Consortium Road Material Supplies contract. Consent agenda item F, consideration of change order number 3 for the Langhorne Gables Drainage Improvement Project in the amount of -$95. Consent agenda item G, consideration of payment of certificate number 3 for the Langhorne Gables Drainage Improvement Project in the amount of $86,176.40 for work completed. I made a motion. I'll take a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of passing the consent agenda items as stated, say aye.
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 Aye. Items pass 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, consideration of termination of township manager. I make a motion. I move to the Board of Supervisors to approve the termination of the township manager to provide required 60 days written notice of termination with an effective termination date of June 13th, 2026. I'll take a second.
Second.
I have a statement to read. The Board of Supervisors of Middletown Township has made the decision to terminate the township manager. As this is a personnel matter involving an appointed employee rather than an elected official, it is the board's policy not to comment further on the specifics of that decision. As you can see in the next agenda item, the township has a clear plan in place to ensure continuity in leadership and operations. We have full confidence in our township staff and department heads, and we expect township services to continue without disruption. We will proceed with a search for a new township manager immediately. The next agenda item, consideration. Oh, sorry. Public comment. I'm a little nervous about that one. Okay. Any public comment?
Lance Eggers, Quincy Hollow, Middletown. My only question is with the termination effective date in June, is there a contractual payout for any amount of time? Is Middletown Township on the hook for a certain severance or anything like that that would have to be paid out?
Mr. Esposito.
At this time, we're not going to comment on the personnel decisions. He does have a contract.
It's not a personnel decision. That's a Middletown.
He does have a contract, and we're going to abide by the contract, and that's all we're going to say that right now.
Okay, and his salary is open record, so what we
Yep.
pay,
Yes.
we pay him
It's
is open.
absolutely above public
So we're
record.
not going to comment on it, but you're going to make me submit a FOIA request to get that information instead of commenting on it at a meeting?
Yes.
And that's pretty open government. Thank you.
Eric Bruno, 79 Sweetgum. God, I feel like I have egg on my face. January, I stood up here during the meeting, and I, with full-throated, endorsed Mr. Ratcliffe when we signed a bond for a full-time. The only thing that I want to know is, well, actually, no, there's two things. First, was there any dissenting voices when we made the decision? You guys aren't going to say anything, I know. And two, was the township harmed financially in any of these issues that we're bringing back up? That's all I want to know, where we harmed financially. As far as something that would be outside of any contracts or anything like that.
Not to my knowledge with anything financially, no.
Okay, so we're not worried about embezzlement or spending on, never mind. All right, thank you.
Any other comments?
Hi, Tom Morelli, 203 Chilton Place in Langhorne. My comment regarding I understand you can't give specifics. My years working with GE, RCA, Stanford Research, typically when somebody was put on administrative leave, there were two types of administrative leave. One was for investigative matters, and typically those were administrative leaves with pay. Then there was ones that were for disciplinary matters. Those were administrative leaves without pay. And then if the person was terminated, the contract, well, it's going to be whatever it is, but typically there wasn't a payout if it was a disciplinary action because it was something caused by the individual against the terms of the contract. Without telling us specifically what occurred, can you tell us if it was a disciplinary or an investigative administrative leave? Meaning one with pay, one without.
We can't make any comments on personnel items.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Lauren LaRoe. I live in 18 Seckelpair. I just want to say that I really hope that you guys will consider Nick Valla to be the next township manager because he's done an incredible job with our township for many, many years. And I just wanted to voice that in his favor. I know you can't comment on anything, but just wanted to support Nick Valla because he's done a great job as our assistant township manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Dave Cahill, 462 Cynthia Pendel. So he's being fired for appointing someone to a position that was supposed to be elected. Did I understand that right?
No, the statement was that since he is an appointed employee, not an elected official, the board's policy is that we don't comment on employee decisions and personnel matters.
He made a decision?
No, the board appointed him as an employee. He didn't make any decisions. That's...
All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Thank you. All righty, at this time, I will take a vote. All those in favor of the termination of the township manager, say aye. 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 Motion passes 5-0. Next agenda item, consideration of appointment of interim township manager. I move that the Board of Supervisors appoint and rehire Stephanie Teely-Cools to serve as the interim township manager on a temporary, at-will, non-contractual basis to be paid at the same biweekly rate as when she was last working for the township without any other ancillary benefits.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments from the board? Any comments or questions from residents?
Lance Segers, Quincy Hollow, Middletown Township. So I remember standing up here talking about this huge tax increase that you guys just did. And specifically the fact that you guys were saying our township was in shambles. And now we're bringing back the same person that we needed to just significantly increased taxes on every citizen in this township because of things weren't being fixed in a timely manner. And that's the person we're going to bring back to run our township again? That's the person who I'm assuming was in control of hiring the person you just fired. And we're going to put her in control of hiring the next person? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but.
So I'll just, since I was chair when most of those things transpired, and I think the comment you're referring to might have been mine, I think each of the things you said is factually incorrect. So Ms. Tioli-Cools did not hire Eden Ratliff, the Board of Supervisors did. Ms. Tioli-Cools will not hire the next township manager, the Board of Supervisors will. The reference to the township being in shambles, I don't think that was the phrase I used, but I think it was my comment that the reason why a tax increase of this size was needed at this time was because we had deferred a lot of things and deferred increasing taxes in the past. That was a Board of Supervisors decision. It wasn't Ms. Tioli-Cools' decision. She doesn't decide taxes, we do. So I don't think there's any connection there. The reason for bringing Ms. Tioli-Cools back on an interim basis is completely independent of that.
Okay, so was the condition of Middletown Township were the supervisors made aware of the condition of Middletown Township, our infrastructure, over the 15 years she was the township manager? Or accurately describe the condition of the infrastructure were you guys made aware of that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it was a joint decision because she's got to make you aware of it. All right, so it was a joint decision not to make those upgrades at the time.
I don't know what you mean by upgrades. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I'm going back to when you guys just raised taxes significantly. The point that you guys kept driving home is that we needed to repair all of the infrastructure that we had not upgraded over the last 10 years. Okay, those are poor decisions, not just by you, by the current manager.
Honestly, Mr. Bachman, I own those decisions. I was on the board the entire time. Those decisions were not a township manager's call. They can't make those decisions, only we can. And I took full responsibility for the fact that we put not raising taxes as a priority over, we had to defer projects, defer infrastructure improvements because we were trying to avoid raising taxes on residents, which put us in a position when this year, at least I felt, we needed to increase taxes as we did. I mean, those are Board of Supervisors, those are policy decisions. Township manager, carries out our policy. So I don't think that that's Ms. Tioli-Cools' responsibility, our decision-making in terms of, levying taxes.
Okay, so legal speak, you guys certainly hired the new manager. Who did the interviewing? Who found the candidate? Who did all of the legwork? You guys?
Yeah, we had a thorough process that involved, we weren't all on the board at the time, but the full Board of Supervisors as well as the department directors and an outside consulting search firm.
And she was in control of that?
She was not. She was completely removed from that.
Right.
She had no opinion, nothing?
None whatsoever.
Did not share her opinion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Eric Bruno, again, I need one thing from you guys. I need you guys to put a timetable on this. I know you just gave your motion. I need you to make that within 45 days. I need you guys to have a deadline for yourself. Obviously, I don't want you to rush and just do anything and make mistakes and all this stuff, but I need you guys to have a deadline within that motion that will give you guys fire to make sure you guys do this and we can get back to some semblance. I'm fine with Stephanie coming back in the interim, whatever. That's not a problem. I want long-term stability, and I would like long-term stability quickly, so I would like you guys to make these decisions and work to find another township manager who's acceptable for Middletown Township and all 50,000 residents, but I need you guys on a timetable.
So the board is definitely going to approach this with urgency, but also we want to make sure that we hire the right person for this community and for the Middletown Township staff. So I understand your need for a timeline. We already have a timeline for ourselves.
The timeline.
It's when we find the right person. So that's the urgency.
6 months the last time around. Well, I mean, it was probably before it started looking before that, because obviously Stephanie had plans before it was publicly announced. So you say 6 months. No, I'm taking you at your word that there were things that could not be fixed with him, but you're saying 6 months to find the right person, and that's what happened. So I am sitting here as a resident of Middletown Township and demanding that we get back to normality as quickly as possible, and I would like to see a timeline on here.
The only thing, I agree with you, Mr. Bruno. We want to get back to having a full-time township manager as quickly as possible as well. It's certainly the desire of everybody on this board, but we also need to make sure that we're thoughtful about it and find the right manager. So setting an artificial deadline to hire somebody, township managers, there aren't as many available township managers out there in the world as one might like, and so we have to make sure we find the right person. We got to get it right.
Joe Fitch, 346 Wyoming Avenue. Is there any truth to the fact that they were friends outside of the township, and that might have been why Eden was hired, or is that a false rumor, or?
That who were friends?
Stephanie and Eden.
That was an outside company that did the search.
Gotcha, thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor of consideration of appointment of interim township manager Stephanie Teely-Cool, say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right, next agenda item, number 9, consideration of preliminary final land development application for S-LD number 26-2 at 2050 and 2520 Old Lincoln Highway for upgrades to the Neshaminy Water Treatment Plant.
Yes, hello. There are representatives from Aqua, Pennsylvania here. I'm actually going to have them do more of the heavy lifting as going through the slides so they can actually describe their project. But just to cover my policy briefing summary that's in your packets quickly, it did receive a recommendation from the Planning Commission during their March meeting. As I state, it is upgrades to the property's existing water treatment plant that would include the construction of a new PFAS treatment system. The application was reviewed by all the necessary staff and consultants. And also there was no objection found with the requested waivers. There was only 2 of them. One was just to allow preliminary and final plan approval concurrently, and the other had to do with not having to provide a landscaping plan. With that, I did recommend preliminary and final land development approval is granted for this one, primarily because it's a much needed, as they'll get into in describing, improvement for really the water quality, so therefore it's a necessity for the public's health, safety, and welfare. With that, I want to just ask the representatives to come up and kind of cover some of their slides and details, and also be able to answer your questions when it comes to the project itself.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis.
So it's a little count to hit down to actually.
Good evening. My name is Gina Gerber. I'm with Riley Riper, Holland and Collar Greco. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Aqua Pennsylvania, Inc. this evening. We are here with regard to some improvements that are proposed for the Neshaminy Water Treatment Plant, which is currently operating, has been operating for quite some time in your township. As Mr. Ennis indicated, we are doing these improvements in order to remove and do a better job of removing the PFAS that are currently in the water system in order to comply with EPA mandates that will take effect in several years. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve here and make sure that we're upgrading plants throughout this area to make sure that we address this issue. I'm joined here this evening by Brennan Kelly with Aqua, as well as our project engineer, Janie Jordan from ACOM. We're going to run through those improvements with you just so you understand what's on the ground, what we're removing, what's going in place, which is effectively the subject of the application. But just to kind of summarize it all, this is a rather large property, of which only a portion of it is actually enclosed and fenced in and is being improved at this stage. There is a demolition of a circular basin, which is very visible. You'll see it throughout the slides. That is being removed. We are introducing a new pumping station. There's going to be a new treatment building as well as a new water storage tank on the property as part of the improvements. We're not anticipating any additional folks coming or going from the site as a result of these improvements. These are really just internal upgrades for the system to be running more efficiently and more effectively and removing those PFAS from the drinking water that serves this community. So I'm going to turn this over to Janie Jordan to just kind of walk you through our slides and what we're proposing to do on the site.
Thanks, Gina. I'll just walk you through the slides. They pretty much covered it, but we're here for questions. This is just the zoning map showing where the plant's located. It's down at the bottom left. It's in the M1 zoning. It's a light manufacturing district. This is a good aerial photo of the plant. So up on the left is Lincoln Highway, and then down here is Route 1, and you can see the huge basin Gina mentioned. So that's being demolished, and then where that is, we're going to add the new PFAS treatment building and the pumping station. So we're not really increasing any impervious area. Really on, this is a better view of the aerial, just kind of showing where we're located and what's going on. The Neshaminy Creek is on the west side. That's where we're pulling the water from. And you can see the riparian buffer. That won't be disturbed. It's going to stay as is. Any work that we're doing is within the blue fence line. That's the existing fence line of the property, the operations of the plant. And you can see the 3 red footprints. Those are the new buildings, and the 2 buildings and the 1 storage tank that are proposed. And you can see the basin footprint that's going to be demolished. I'll move on, but if there's any questions, we can come back to this slide. And this is just to show you what the new buildings look like. We're matching the existing architecture that's on site. This is what the pumping station will look like. And this is what the new PFAS treatment building will look like. This will house the vessels that do the actual PFAS removal. And then this is the storage tank itself. This is what this looks like. It's just a concrete structure. It'll just have water in it, so no people will be entering this building. And then this is just an overview of the site plan, just kind of a different version of it, showing some of the zoning, key zoning requirements. I think that's all we got. We can take any questions anyone has.
Any questions from the board?
Any new impacts Middletown's gonna feel from this new equipment or the new stations?
No, just once it actually gets installed, the water will have less PFAS in it, so just an improvement.
How long will it take? What's the timeline?
The construction is scheduled to end in 2028, which is ahead of the 2029 regulations, and we're actually going to bid this week, so the construction will start soon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Could I have you just explain PFAS for the public that isn't familiar with it?
Yeah, no problem. Try to pronounce it. It's pre and polyfluoroalkali. They're just trace background elements that are in the water. They're chemicals. They're actually man-made chemicals. They have some non-stick properties, so they're used in some like household products, non-stick pans, and things like that. And they're known as forever chemicals. They just don't break down. So once they get into the water, they don't come out. They don't break down in the water. They don't break down in our bodies. So we're just introducing the treatment that will remove these from the water.
What do you do with it once you remove it from the water?
We dispose of it. So we take it. There's a media that takes it out, and then we'll take it away and just dispose of it.
It's a carbon filter, like your refrigerator. Same thing, but just big.
Yeah. No. And then how they get in is there's not a single source, so they're called background elements. They just sort of exist in the water. It's not like a spill of some sort or one. There's not a single point source. They just are elevated concentrations.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
I think so.
Okay, we had a motion. I'll take a second.
Make it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, I'll make the motion. I make a motion to grant preliminary and final land development plan approval for the upgrades to the Neshaminy Water Treatment Plant at 2050 and 2520 Old Lincoln Highway, S/LD, number 26-2, with the following conditions. 1, applicant shall comply in full with all requirements of the Middletown Township subdivision and land development ordinance and the Middletown Township zoning ordinance, unless relief was granted by the body having jurisdiction. Number 2, any remaining review comments shall be addressed in full.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
William J. Plunkett, 2001A West Lincoln Highway. Do they treat any water from Middletown Township at all? I don't think they do. I don't think they have any benefit to us whatsoever. Thank you.
Lauren LaRoe, Cycle Pair. So they said they were going to dispose of the PFAS, which is great, but they didn't say where they were going to dispose of it or how that disposal was going to happen. And I was just curious if they could answer that question for us.
Sure. So the carbon in the filters absorbs the PFAS, and we detect the level of coming out of the filters. So when the PFAS level spikes up a bit, we'll change the carbon out to new carbon.
Where will you put the PFAS contaminated carbon?
That's taken away by Calgon. It's a company. They reactivate it by putting it in high temperature furnaces and kind of burn it off.
Where are those facilities where they burn it off?
I think like Georgia is down there. So it's shipped up from Georgia, the carbon, and back down. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Joe Fitch. The water storage, does that store fresh water? Does it store water that is about to be cleaned? And if it is about to be cleaned, can you do anything to absorb the rainwater through that building into the tank?
That water going into the storage tank will come from the PFAS buildings, so it's already been treated. We couldn't introduce any rainwater into the treated water. It would be contamination.
My name is Tom Pito. I'm from Langhorne. I think the builders should pay for this, not us. What's going to happen? You guys build all these houses out here. You got apartments, they need all this stuff. Where is it going to go? It should go right on the contractors who building these houses. You should have been taking escrow out of every house. So don't do it.
One thing to mention too, we're pursuing PennVest funding for this. We've been successful in getting a lot of grant money from PennVest for these projects. PFAS is something we didn't put in the water. And the government kind of recognizes that and has funded, these treatment processes. So.
Just to clarify the last gentleman's comment, this is a land development application for Aqua PA, so it's work they want to do on their property, on their site. The reason they come before the board is because it's within Middletown Township. So it's not the township or township residents that's paying for any of the work. This is a project that they are doing and before the board to ask for approval per their land development plans. Whether or not there's benefit to where they serve the water, but they are still a property in the township, so they have to come before the board for approval of what they want to do on the site. And to Mr. Fitch's comment, the land development, they're still required to meet stormwater requirements for the site. This is them treating the water that they then serve, but any stormwater on the site, they still have to meet all the requirements, which their plans and calculations do.
I just thought if it was untreated water, it would be a great way to, suck up some of the rainwater, that's all.
Sure thing, yeah, just to clarify. Yep. Thank you.
Eric Brito, I know you guys are down the hill. Is there any traffic that you guys would anticipate while you're doing your construction that would be like blocking off traffic for a little bit to move it? Okay, they shook their head no. That's good. You're good.
No. Yeah. Okay. No additional employees either. It's a quiet treatment system. Everything will stay the same. We'll just have the PFAS treatment in.
Thank you. We made a motion and a second. Those in favor of the recommended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes pass 5-0. Motion passes. Thank you. Next agenda item, number 10, consideration of petition from Corman Commercial Properties seeking a zoning map amendment and zoning ordinance text amendment seeking adoption of ordinance 26-05 to create a new overlay district, LC Logistics Center Overlay District.
Good evening again. You have my policy briefing summary. There are representatives for the petition here tonight. I'm going to have them do the heavy lifting, but right now, just kind of covering how we got here. This is a petition not only for a zoning map change, but a zoning text change. Zoning map change would, this is the existing zoning that you have in front of you right now. The zoning map change would get rid of the purple there, which is the C commercial zoning district, and reconfigure the green to a different area. Well, stays, but also reduces it to a certain degree, all in effort to expand the blue, which is the M1 light manufacturing zoning district. So you can see that right there. There's also going to be, as proposed, a conservation easement that will run along the Neshaminy Creek. That's the zoning map change, real quickly covered. And then the zoning text changes to the zoning ordinance would allow for a logistics fulfillment center use type in the M1 light manufacturing zoning district by conditional use for properties that are 50 acres or greater within the M1 zoning district. So that's really the nuts and bolts, the brief details. Like I said, I'll let the petitioners kind of explain more as we go along with this matter. But it did receive a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission during their March meeting. That's after at least 3, if not 4, appearances before the Planning Commission, starting from pretty much around this time last year, and also going ahead and vetting a lot of the what was initially proposed. Real important points that were initially proposed that were removed are a data center type use, as well as a cold storage type use. So those are no longer proposed with the logistics fulfillment center use type. As far as impacts, impacts right now are kind of unclear in the sense that it won't be until they propose a land development that also has to go through a conditional use hearing process where conditions will be established by the board if it's ever presented for a land development. So you would also they would also have to go before the Planning Commission to gain recommendations for both of those elements. And then with that, you know, as far as some of the things that I do find positive about this, one, you get the conservation easement around the Neshaminy Creek. You have better access to the open recreation zoned properties now that they're actually connected to the frontage. And there's also, as you would see within the text, this site, a great deal of it is a brownfield site. So they would have to absolutely remediate that site seek the approvals by all the necessary, especially federal agencies for that remediation.
Can you explain what a brownfield site is?
Sure, it's a contaminated site. It's a contaminated site. They can get into the details on just to the level of contamination and why it's contaminated, but it's another sort of land use term for a contaminated site, a toxic site in a way. With that, based on the fact that it did receive a recommendation from the Planning Commission, based on the fact that it was reviewed by all the necessary staff and consultants, I do recommend that you can, if so, grant the approval for the petition, both for the zoning text and the zoning map change. I'm now going to go ahead and defer to the representatives to answer more questions and get into even further details.
Can I just ask a quick question before you step back, Mr. Ennis? So given that it's a brownfield site, any land development that occurs would have to comply with the Department of Environmental Protection and clean
yes.
up what is the entire, right, the entire
Yes,
site.
they wouldn't be able to do anything until we knew that they had all those approvals from those higher agencies, especially on the federal and state level.
So just thinking sort of broadly, so in addition to the getting the conservation easement, we also, assuming there's land development, we'd also get a cleanup of what is now a hazardous toxic
That's right.
property.
And that's actually a specific requirement that's stated in the text changes.
And that cost, Jim, would also be covered completely by them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nothing for the township.
So yeah, it's just those two slides. And if you want to go, there we go. Okay.
Good evening, I'm Ed Murphy. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. And to follow what Jim said, this site is a legacy Superfund site. Been there for a long time. It was many uses many years ago, including a landfill. And none of it was created by my client. It's been there, that condition has existed for quite a long time. As Jim said, today, that is what the zoning graphically looks like. The three purple areas are zoned commercial. The light blue area is zoned M1, and the green area is zoned OR, open recreation. That condition, where you have the frontage of the property zoned commercial and the rearmost portion of the property zoned something else, is something that all of us are familiar that have done work in Middletown. That is not an uncommon arrangement. Never very clear to me after all these years why that was ever done that way, but many parts of Route 1 throughout the township have similar, or did have similar type of zoning arrangements. As Jim said, the proposal in front of you this evening, which we initiated about a year ago when we submitted the formal petition, is to consolidate the zoning by eliminating the commercial pieces, the three separate pieces that were along Route 1, and reducing the amount of the open recreation area to the far east of the site. In lieu of that, we would create a 200-foot buffer that cross-hatched area that follows the rearmost portion of the property adjacent to the Neshaminy Creek. At the end of the day, if we were to move forward with this proposal, the total amount of open recreation or conservation eased areas would be slightly north of 21, 22 acres, where today that former far east area of green was about 19 acres. So you're picking up 2 to 3 acres of additional conserved open area. The idea for creating the conservation easement along the Neshaminy Creek frontage was to allow for the installation in the future of trails or public access trails that would connect to the boat ramp area that's in the OR area and the far eastern portion of the site. And as Mr. Kizak said, all of this is dependent on having the Superfund site remediated. So the creation of the uniform M1 zoning district was designed to try to attract a user for the site that would also accept responsibility for the significant financial obligation to clean up the site. So all of this presumes that the site ultimately will be cleaned up. And we have been actively talking to prospective tenants, purchasers, et cetera, all of whom are not frightened away by the enormity of the cleanup, but have been uncomfortable with the sort of hodgepodge existing zoning that exists. So that's the real impetus for trying to create a more uniform zoning classification that would give confidence to the business community that they could locate a use that could afford to undertake the cleanup. That's part of that. So that's number one. Number two, part of the modification of the zoning ordinance is what I just described, the changing from the purple to the blue and the green and the conservation easement. The other part of the petition that's in front of you is to create this logistics center overlay, which would be creating an opportunity via conditional use, which the board would have input over, on approving a use that's not presently in the list of M1 allowable uses. You heard Jim indicate that over the last year we've had different proposals because we've had interest in proposals that would include a data center and cold storage. Those uses were not viewed supportively by your consultants and your planning commission. So the ordinance that's in front of you has eliminated those uses. So the only new use that we're introducing that isn't already in the M1 district is this logistics center use, which would happen via conditional use, not a use by right. And it doesn't include a data center or cold storage. So that is, in essence, what's in front of you. Consolidation and cleaning up, if you will, of disparate zoning districts that don't candidly make a lot of sense in today's environment. 2, establishing a 200-foot wide conservation easement along the entirety of the Neshaminy Creek frontage to the rear of the site, and ending up with 2 to 3 acres more of conserved or open ground, with the understanding that before we could do any of this, we have to clean it up. So we're trying to find the key to making the site attractive for redevelopment, which would include the cleanup. So that is, in essence, what's happening tonight. And that's what we are requesting that you consider approving tonight.
I just want to say, well, I'm appreciative that the applicant is willing to put on the burden of cleaning up this area. Before I was on the planning commission, when you guys came before us, I did not even know that this was a contaminated zone in our township. So I am appreciative of that. I just want to clarify something with the proposal in front of us. There is not going to be a data center proposed on this property. Am I understanding that correct?
There is not.
Okay, because yeah, I would definitely be a no.
Correct. As was when you were on the planning commission, that was a comment that we heard repeatedly. And for a lot of reasons, practical and otherwise, that is not part of anything that is being proposed here, correct? Nor is cold storage, which is another popular use, but the issue with cold storage is the height of the buildings required for cold storage, which typically are 120 feet or taller, and a lot of people were uncomfortable about having a building that size, even though this area, as you probably saw from the prior applicant, it sits pretty low in that whole area, but even so, there was not any support for a building that high, so that has also been removed from the list of allowable uses, by conditional use or otherwise.
I had a couple quick questions as I was going through this earlier with Jim Ennis. My first one is, so this is a logistics fulfillment center amendment. Does this mean that the only way that someone in our township will be able to set up a logistics fulfillment center is if they meet this criteria?
Yes.
So none of like the warehouses today that were just built can no longer utilize logistics fulfillment as a use?
Those centers, to locate a logistics fulfillment center under this proposed ordinance, you have to meet all the criteria, which the minimum is 50 acres, and I don't believe there's any other site in the township of that size with the other conditions that are specified in the ordinance that could qualify.
Can you help me understand, what does this text amendment consider what's the definition of logistics fulfillment center in here?
It's spelled out in the definition. It says a logistics fulfillment center is a planned development of light manufacturing and related uses designed as a whole and meant to allow greater flexibility over a land while reducing impacts to neighboring properties versus via building orientation, setbacks, and buffers, including improvements for internal streets landscaping, utilities, and buffering. It is a coordinated, for lack of a better word, fulfillment center means warehouse or something like those that we are all familiar with that have populated the area over the last 15, 20 years.
Okay. And this would be the only site in Middletown that would be allowed to have that,
Yeah,
based on this text amendment?
Yeah, I'll jump in. And right now, the only site that is not developed that would be this site. It doesn't necessarily mean somebody can't buy multiple properties and try to make them one to be greater than 50, but that would have to include buying already established buildings, knocking those down and putting them together. So it would be pretty difficult to do.
And then one of the things that's really great about this is the conservation easement, but we're not actually including, are we including any type of minimum open space or anything in this text amendment? Or is it just, hey, this is what we propose to do with it once we have this passed?
No, the ordinance requires a 150-foot buffer. We have a 200-foot buffer. So the ordinance does mandate, to a certain degree, along the creek, a buffer that, in our case, the rear yard would normally be 75 feet. We are proposing 200 feet. So we are 125 feet further away from the rearmost property line where we can't develop other than a pedestrian trail that's open to the public. So the open space that we are creating is built into the ordinance via the buffer requirements of 150 feet.
And just to add a little bit to that, as Mr. Murphy has previously stated, the Logistics Fulfillment Center is a conditional use. So they would have to come, if they want to propose a land development, they're going to have to come in front of the supervisors twice. Once to get the conditional use. As part of that conditional use, the board can come up with reasonable conditions as part of what they're proposing. Some additional open space could be a reasonable condition that the board could consider depending on what they're exactly proposing, but that is something that might be up to the board at that time.
Well, there is no minimum, right? It's just, you have to hit the buffers.
You have to hit the buffers, and then the board can possibly look at other things, again, looking at what they're specifically proposing at the time.
Yeah, and the buffers are consistent with the light manufacturing, correct? Because I think I'm looking at this right. The buffer yard is 150 for our current M1, and this proposed is 150. So it's consistent.
We are proposing 200, not 150. The conservation
On that plan, but that's not part of the text amendment, correct?
Yeah, but this is what we're doing. We are proposing a 200-foot buffer as part of this plan. What I am looking at, I don't see, it says 150 feet minimum, proposed and existing. But we are proposing to do more than that. We're saying 200 feet.
Yeah. I guess I'm not concerned about this development. We're doing a text amendment, which means this will live on in the future.
Okay.
So like that would be my concern is, and then I guess, I think you answered this, but this conservation easement isn't essentially, like my concern is we're removing the OR district. My preference would be not to ever touch those.
We're only taking a portion of it. Part of it stays, part of it is going to be subsumed into the M1 with the conservation easement.
Right. We're essentially realigning it on the property. We're not adding too much to it.
No,
Because you're going to
putting up
need,
2 extra acres of open space / open recreation.
Okay.
We're gaining between 2 and 3 acres between the conservation easement and the remaining OR in the far right.
you're gaining. Okay.
Gaining almost 3 acres, yes.
Okay.
After today, right.
That's on your proposal, but not necessarily in the text amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. And then my last question is, what was the thought process about going text amendment versus going to just the zoning hearing board and having this all reset for this site?
Because of the significance of the changes and the site itself of 85 acres, no one felt comfortable that going to the zoning hearing board to handle something that truly was legislative in nature, that really is the province of this body, is what, and I think we all agreed that given the enormity of the site, et cetera, that it was appropriate for legislative action, not zoning hearing board.
Any other comments? All right, thank you. Do you,
I have nothing further if anybody else has any other questions.
any comments from the community?
Is a conservation easement and open recreation interchangeable? Is open recreation the same thing as a conservation easement? I guess I'm concerned that they're counting this hashed area as part of an open recreation area that they're like giving to the township, and they're giving us an extra 50 feet, which is great. But I'm just wondering if it's a conservation easement, right? That's still like a sensitive area. And I don't know that that's something that we necessarily use as open recreation because we're trying to preserve habitats and such. So I guess, you know, it's a good thought, but I'm afraid that they're not increasing our open recreation space with this proposal, that it's actually reducing the open recreation space because that conservation easement is not going to be something that we're going to be like encouraging people to be walking along because we're going to be trying to conserve nature there. But if I'm wrong, please tell me I'm wrong and help me understand it.
I don't know if Jim can yet. I think I asked this, but correct me if I'm wrong. It can be utilized for things like trails.
Yeah, and I think, to Jim's point, if we get to the next level, the conservation easement is intended to be a recorded document. It's going to be crafted by the township solicitor. It's going to have input from everyone, and the intention is to allow those uses in the conservation easement that are consistent with the open recreation area today. So it's fully intended to be designed by you for the benefit of the public. So it's going to be coterminous with the open recreation area. So
I'll just add too that the easement by definition will have specifics to what's conserved in that space. The easement's still the property of the developer here. So the OR, the open recreation, that's the township property that can be used for all the things described in that zoning district. The easement on that property, since it is part of that property, for any remediation they have to do, that would include that area as well. And at the end of the day, that easement that's conserved would be shared use that could be collaborated with the township for along the creek there. So if that answers the question a little bit, it just is that designated area after remediation that's now space that's conserved along the creek side that the township can coordinate to hopefully, do something that's available for public use.
Go ahead.
So if they come, if according to conditional use, when they apply or they go to move to something else, like according to conditional use, we could make that a part of conditional use?
sure.
Are there any concerns with utilizing this conservation easement? I know the majority of it is in the floodway and the floodplain. Any concerns with that?
No. That's appropriate to have trails. You're not going to build structures necessarily, but at-grade trails, as Isaac knows, it happens all the time, and that's appropriate and attractive place to put them, so, yeah.
Yeah, because 90% of that easement, maybe more or
I don't know
less?
what the percentage is, Dana, but I mean.
It's a lot.
It's along the bank of the creek,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And just something I want to else point out is some of the zoning is open recreation. Just because it's zoned open recreation, it is not the township's property. It is actually owned by Corman, and we have no right to use it unless they permitted us to. So, and that is part of what they're proposing, is the open recreation can't be used anything for other than permitted under open recreation, but they're proposing that they will allow us to get on there and now use that conservation easement area as well. So unless they allowed that, we just can't go use their open recreation.
Dana, good questions. Thank you. So I'm with Ryan. I didn't know this was a contaminated site. What's it contaminated with currently?
It was a dump in the 70s that closed down 50 years ago.
Landfill, okay. And I have a,
Methane pipes coming out of the ground. I went there and visited.
oh, okay, methane pipes. Okay, cool. And so Corman bought it in what, 74? I think that's what the public record said.
Corman had it when it developed the Chamonix Valley on the other side of the creek in Ben Sale.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if I understand this, I guess this is more to your guys. So if I understand this would restrict any new, what's the word, warehouses out of M1 zoning districts, and it would essentially say this is the only place left in Middletown Township that a warehouse would be able to go if we.
I don't want you to confuse warehouses with logistics fulfillment center. There are other warehouses here. There could be other uses for warehouses other than a logistics fulfillment center. Everyone always assumes kind of like an Amazon type of fulfillment center. I just don't want you to think there are not other uses for warehouses.
You're just crushing me right now.
Yeah.
Just crushing me. Thank you. All right.
Hey, Jim, any concerns with,
Thank you.
like, Jim, yeah, sorry, one of you, any concerns with the definition of logistics in here and how I'm struggling with, if someone came to the Reedmans and wanted to do a fulfillment center, would they be able to open and do that with this new text amendment?
So I would say that the key part of that definition is planned development. So it's something that's going to be planned. It's something that's going to have the allowance for just about every other use that's already allowed in the M1. But now it's going to be a fully planned development that's also by conditional use. So you got to emphasize that. Now, there are sometimes vanity names of calling something a logistics center that I wouldn't say necessarily is this type of use type. It just might be a vanity name that is really just some combination of a warehouse and an office that is allowed in the M1 now. But this one, because it has the planned development sort of emphasis in that definition, that's what it's going to be. So you can't just go ahead and maybe create a use type in an existing building or an existing site throughout the township. It would have to be a planned development through a conditional use process at 50 acres or more, which also you don't really have anywhere else except for here. I mean, you have some ability to maybe try to have that somewhere else, but it'd be really, really difficult. Is that a better? Do you want to step in? Okay.
Joe Fitch, I think it's been a dump longer than in the 70s. I remember my father telling me as a kid that they used to go down there in the dump and shoot rats. So, in the 50s, he was 20 years old, 1950. My concern is, you're going to dig up this dump. Do we have to worry about any contamination? Not that I'm sure it hasn't rained and soaked the ground, but going into the Chamonix Creek with digging all of this stuff up. We mentioned it's in a flood zone. Do we really want to build something this big in a flood zone or partial flood zone or whatever? On top of that, all the impervious surface, and where's that water going to run off? It's going to run off right into the Neshaminy Creek and go downstream to Humeville, where we've had so many flooding problems as it is, to where they got to shut down Main Street in Humeville. So do we really need something else to give us more flooding, especially with the storm management stuff that we're trying to do now? Let's see. Traffic. I think we just had somebody killed on Route 1, and right after that, I think Middletown did a huge speed trap on there. I mean, you get people coming off the superhighway at 50, 60 miles an hour onto that open section of road. I mean, are we setting ourselves up for another traffic light or more accidents? I know years ago, there's still, I think the sign's still there. A gentleman was killed because one of the, I think it was an auto parts warehouse, made an illegal U-turn in front of the guy and he hit him with his motorcycle and the guy got killed. So that's another thing. We got traffic studies and all kinds of stuff like that to worry about. We got 2 unused storage warehouse eyesores in the township already that we're not collecting any tax money, because if I'm correct, you guys said we don't collect any tax money until an occupancy permit is issued. So now are we going to have that? Trailer, or the trails and the parking. Like, okay, so you're going to put a trail there. I mean, is it really going to be that aesthetic that you're looking at this huge industrial building and the stream? I mean, holy cow, we got Core Creek, Silver Lake, Tyler Park, So what are we going to do about traffic? We have so many problems with young kids on bicycles and motorcycles and stuff like that. Why not build a BMX track like they used to have in Bensalem, or a motocross track, or something like that for kids in the community? Bring some money into the area that way. As far as going back to the trucking thing, we have so many other trucks being parked all over in this area. We got them in Pendle, which was supposed to be the Wawa. We got a ton of trucks there. We got Sam's Club and Restaurant Depot, where I took a picture a couple weeks ago where the guy had some kind of fluid leak, and he's changing his antifreeze, it looks like, right in the ground and dumping it right on the pavement. And then you got the mall that's like a truck stop. I mean, holy cow, if you want to do that, just build one of them gigantic frickin' Buc-ee's truck stops there, if that's what we're looking to do. If we're looking to be a trucking community, you got the Turnpike, you got Route 1, you got 95, we're in between Philadelphia and New York. I mean, we don't need another fulfillment center, storage center, or anything like that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's been empty property for all this time. Do something that the township can use and not cause any additional problems for ourselves. I mean, anybody have any comments or thoughts or ideas?
If I could just a couple of things. A lot of what you're talking about is really land development stuff, and we're just not there yet. I mean, this is just a zoning amendment, so those topics will all be addressed, investigated, and ultimately decided upon by this board during conditional use and during land development. But to your other point about doing something else with the property, you're forgetting, though, this is a Superfund site. We can't just develop the property. It has to be cleaned up in accordance with the DEP. And so it's either going to remain wasteland forever, or we're going to find a willing partner who's going to invest the substantial amount of time and money it's going to take to clean it up. So that's part of the impetus for this.
Well, if you're going to put a BMX bike track in there or whatever, I mean, do you really need to tear it up? No, you're just going to bring in some fresh, clean dirt and make jumps and ramps and stuff like that. I mean, holy cow, you're going to be playing in the dirt anyway.
Yeah.
So do you got to dig up all the crap that's there?
Yeah, it's not that simple.
If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it.
Yeah.
Now, look, stop. I don't know where to start with the number of things you said. One, the site's got to get cleaned up. Nobody wants to have an 85-acre Superfund site in the middle of the township, right? Somebody's got to pay for that. Stop. Let me talk.
It's Corbin's property. Let them clean it up. We'll go down each
Let
thing
me
together.
talk.
We'll go down each
Let me
thing
talk.
together.
You've had your time. Let me answer. One, the site has to be cleaned up pursuant to a DEP remediation plan that is approved. Nobody's going to go out there, one, and build in the floodplain, or two, allow contaminated material to get into the creek. DEP controls all that. The most likely scenario for cleaning up the site is going to cap it, not dig everything out and remove it. But again, DEP makes that decision, not us. So nothing's going to be built in the floodplain. The site's going to be cleaned up to a DEP standard, not our standard, and without another partner to pay for the multi-millions of dollars to do it, you're going to continue to have a Superfund site sitting there like you have since the 40s or 50s or whenever it has. So happy to talk about it. And as Mr. Kizak said, issues of traffic and access and all that stuff will happen years from now once, if and when a purchaser tenant is found that's prepared to exhibit the financial courage to do all of this to get it to a point where we can talk about responsible traffic management, stormwater management, and the like. But we're a long way away from doing that, and without having this first step, we're not going to attract anybody to do anything, and it'll sit. So.
I don't understand why Corman Suites isn't responsible for cleaning it up anyway. They knew what they were buying when they purchased that property. You know what I mean? So why aren't they responsible for cleaning it and maintaining it?
That's the DEP. I mean, they're not.
Everybody, it seems like everybody wants to point fingers in every different direction. I've got human waste that runs out of a sewer in Middletown Township into Mill Creek. Nobody wants to do anything about it. Call the DEP, call the EPA, call this place, call that place. This has been going on for years in Middletown Township, and nobody wants to do anything about it.
Well, all right, so you're going off, that's a different topic, and this is,
not.
it is. This is public comment on this agenda item, so we have to stick to this agenda item. On this agenda item, this Board of Supervisors does not have the legal authority to tell Corman that they have to spend millions of dollars to clean up the Superfund site. So our options are, it stays a Superfund site in perpetuity, or we find a willing partner who, like Corman is now proposing, is willing to take this step to develop it, to clean it up, and hopefully to find a willing tenant or buyer. That's what we're considering tonight. Your suggestions of like other things to do are just not feasible. It's just not possible. We can't just go in there and build a BMX course.
It was used for four-wheeling and racing dirt bikes and quads for the longest time until a young kid got hurt a few years ago, and then it got permanently shut down. So, you know, it's a thing to get kids out of their houses, or camaraderie, or making friends, or whatever. You know, it would be something for the community.
Oh, I don't disagree with the concept. I'm just saying we can't just go in and build it.
And my feeling is that, you know, again, and we've talked about this, the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board and you guys are all fingers on the same hand, but it seems like nobody communicates with each other. You know what I mean? Like, they'll approve variances in building on lots under 10,000 square feet, and you guys have no choice but to approve it. Oh, yeah, well, they said that we can do it, and so.
Mr. Fitch, I know that, I'll just say that the township isn't looking to have recreation on a Superfund site regardless. So the goal of remediating the site at some point in time is definitely desirable no matter what. To your other comment about like illicit discharge in another part of the township, I know we'll see each other on Wednesday for the Stormwater Advisory Committee, the MS4 section on illicit discharge. We should definitely talk about that because that is something we would want to address. So that's the venue that we can really address that issue as well.
Tom Pito again. I was wondering, he brought up a good subject. These two warehouses out there and this apartment complex, have they been paying their fair share of taxes? Or do you give them a 10-year whatever? 10 years, they don't have to pay taxes? Did they do anything like that? What's going on?
There is no 10-year rebate for taxes.
I'm just asking you, was there a deal made that they're not paying their fair share of taxes yet?
No, there was no deal made. They're responsible for paying their taxes.
Fair share of taxes.
Yes.
So this guy got 600 apartments. He's probably paying a couple $1 million a year taxes.
For the apartments that have been built so far, yes.
So why did they raise our taxes then? They shouldn't have had to raise our taxes. You're getting all this money coming in, right? Hey, I've been here since '53, and this place is a mess.
I know. Okay. I'm going to make a motion. Okay. All right, at this time, I'm going to make a motion. I make a motion to grant approval for the petition to amend the Middletown Township zoning ordinance by allowing a logistics fulfillment center use type with associated requirements in the M1 light manufacturing zoning district and to change the Middletown Township zoning map by rezoning an aggregate of properties to the M1 light manufacturing or open recreation zoning districts S/LD number 25-4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the board? All those in favor of The recommended motion, say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item, number 11, consideration of awarding James D. Morrissey, Inc. of Philadelphia, PA, in the amount of $1,711,679.40 for the 2026 road improvement program and roadway striping.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This year's road program, if you recall, the budget for the 2026 budget is a total of $2 million. That is A to Z, all items that are included with what we do each year to make the road program happen. So that includes the bidding, the engineering, the inspection when it goes to construction. What that leaves is $1,840,000 for the actual construction work that's recommended to award with the contract. So we have this year's program with a base bid and a few alternates. The base bid is to mill and repave Quincy Hollow in its entirety, that neighborhood, and also the Juniper Hill neighborhood in its entirety. Both of these follow the multi-year plan that the township has had for a few years now to improve the ADA accessibility and the curb ramps a year or two prior to when we can repave the road. The reason for that is that there's some roadway disturbance when they do the curb work and the ramp work, and that allows the road program to come and basically be the final step to have a fresh new roadway surface. The base bid includes those two neighborhoods. Alternate number one, as it's defined, is a portion that's Harris Avenue as it comes down from Route 1 to Rising Sun Avenue. It's a small segment there that is also a drainage improvement project that has had an issue with the way the water comes down Harris Avenue to the properties lower down on Rising Sun. So this portion of the road program will regrade and repave that roadway. Prior to that, our Public Works Department will install drainage structures and additional inlets and pipes to improve the drainage for it to be captured. And then the contractor for the road program will repave the road to direct it to those new structures. That being said, that alternate number one will be paid from the stormwater fee funds that the township has. So it won't actually come out of the roadway program budget line item. It's included with this contract because of the paving work, and we're able to get better pricing with it being bulk for the contract. Alternate number two was Red Rose Gate to repave that entire neighborhood. To include that with this year's contract, it was always anticipated that that total price would be above the budget for this year, but we looked ahead at years coming up of which neighborhoods we wanted to do. So to get pricing for Red Rose Gate, which would be the priority to start with the program next year, we wanted to have an accurate current pricing that we could use for budgeting when that time of year comes up later in the calendar year. So it's not recommended to approve with this contract, but we have accurate pricing now. We can really use that to plan to continue the program next year. The rest of the alternates, and there's a few of them, each of them are a roadway for restriping. So it's alternates numbers 3 through 16. That's 14 striping locations throughout the township. I have them listed in the packet there if we need to name them, but they're basically to refresh the striping on the roadway, replacing kind to just give it really a facelift for the striping to be more noticeable and also safer for the traveling public. I will note the last one there, the final alternate, is the service road portion that's in Langhorne Manor Borough. The alternate before that is the service road portion that Middletown Township owns. The Langhorne Manor Borough portion, we've coordinated with the borough. They're agreeable to pay that alternate cost. So that would be money that they pay the township to have in this contract for the contractor to just keep on striping, basically. They don't have to pick up and restart beginning and end where Middletown stops and starts. We did receive 3 bids that were opened on April 6th. We reviewed them thoroughly and happy to say that the low bidder is below our budget. As I mentioned, the road program budget is $1,840,000. The total for all the roadway program items is $1,650,481.40. So about $189,000 and change below what we have for the budget. So that's savings to what the township is planning for this year. And as mentioned, that alternate number 1, Harris Avenue, is stormwater fee funded. That alternate itself is $61,198, which brings that total recommended award to that $1,711,697.40. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I think my only question in reviewing this was why we were restriping the service roads when they may not be here once PennDOT's finished with their work, or are these the portions of the service roads that are remaining?
That's a good question. I guess 2 parts. One, they will benefit from restriping this year, just for safety and having them as noticeable lines. There's not a ton of linear footage on those service roads. It's pretty much the linear lines as you go through them. To your point about the PennDOT project, we all know that's something they have planned. It is a few years out still, so we do feel that having that included is beneficial with the restriping that's done just in the various locations that we have as the alternates.
Thank you. So for safety reasons.
Correct, yes. And they all are separate alternates. If the board desires, that could be left off, but we would recommend we include it to just be all together.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out, how do you identify that, hey, the service road's the one that needs to be restriped versus somewhere else in the township?
When we looked at which roads we wanted to restripe, obviously there's the ones that were recently repaved, like North Flowers Mill outside here. They do the restriping when they do repaving. That's part of that work as well. These are roads that haven't been repaved at least in a few years. It's starting to fade. So we work with township staff as well as the Public Works Department to identify which roadways would benefit from the restriping. And it was identified as a priority as part of this year's program as well, to refresh those lines that haven't been touched in a while.
Yeah, I just see it's almost $40,000 to redo those service roads. So I wanted to make sure that we really, in fact, needed to redo those.
I understand. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to award the base bid, alternate number 1, and alternates numbers 3 through 16 for the 2026 liquid fuels program in the amount of $1,711,679.40 to James D. Morrissey, Inc.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the community? All those in favor of the recommended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Next agenda, item number 12. This item has been removed from the agenda. Consideration of agenda item number 13, consideration to adopt resolution number 2612 to adopt initiatives to be recognized as a Pennsylvania Audubon Council Birdtown.
Hi, Monica Tierney. I'm the Interim Parks and Rec Director. And I'm here today because the EAC recently voted to ask the board, or advise the board, to recommend that we apply for Birdtown. And Birdtown provided us with some slides that we could go through today. I'm just going to quickly go through, not in heavy detail, to discuss the importance and why we should have Birdtown. So real quick, the mission is Birdtown, Pennsylvania works in partnership with local municipalities and like-minded organizations to promote community-based conservation actions to create a healthier, more sustainable environment for birds, wildlife, and people. There are about 101 bird towns across the state. There's about 300 bird towns across the nation in 13 different states, including the 3 cities of Harrisburg, Easton, and Williamsport. On top of that, there are, I believe it's 18 in Bucks County bird towns, and then just in Lower Bucks, there's Doylestown Falls, Lower Makefield, Morrisville, Newtown, and Garley-Borough, who are all participating in this program. So those are, I guess I jumped ahead there. So just some facts about, the reason why we protect the birds is to, and maybe Lauren can expand on this a little bit more, but, they eat bugs in the township. They help with sustainability, and Lauren can also contribute a little bit more to this. She knows more than I do. And then major threats to the birds, habitat, 40 million acres of lawns in the US and 2 million in PA. Cats are a big predator of the birds. There's a lot of window collisions. These are some of the things that we could be working on, and some of the things that align with some of the other initiatives we're doing in the township, along with the climate action plan, stormwater management that we're doing, possibly the plastic bag ordinance that has been before the board. There's many things that we can do as far as education, stormwater education, programs that maybe could help with some of the stormwater implementation that we're doing. So it all aligns with everything that you're already doing in the township now. And then this just explains a little bit more. I'm sorry, I'm trying to go fast because I know everybody took a little longer. And there's 4 categories that we focus on for Birdtown. There's creating and protecting habitat, addressing threats to birds, educating and engaging people, and promoting sustainability. So there's a feather system. So right when you sign up, you're green, no changes. It's a $100 application fee. We can go up and down in these phases through feathers every year. We provide a report to Birdtown once a year to say what we're doing, and then we'll get our feather for the year. So we could fluctuate over the years. So we're on the 3rd step right now, and I have a motion or resolution for it in front of you today. We did have a meeting to review the process of Birdtown. It was a public meeting that we had heavy attendance, but was it a year and a half ago about? Yeah, 2 years ago. And, there is a committee through the EAC for Birdtown, and now we have this motion in front of you today.
Thank you.
I want to thank the EAC for championing this initiative, and Ms. Tierney and the Park and Rec Department. I think it's fitting that on the day that we announced the event to rename one of our parks in honor of Supervisor Anna Payne, we are going to have this resolution for consideration, because getting a Birdtown designation was actually something that was really important to Anna and that she really pushed for when she was on this board. I regretted that we weren't able to get it done while she was with us, so I'm really happy that we're moving forward with it now. So thank you, Lauren and the EAC, and Ms. Tierney, and everyone at Park and Rec. I appreciate it.
How does the township support this process after the resolution? What are next steps?
There would be an application process, so it's all right here. It's a $100 fee, an application process, and then that will get reviewed by Birdtown, and that would bring us to our green feather. And then after that, there's other initiatives. How do I go back? Oh, well, they're in your packet. There's a list of initiatives that we can do for the township. There's a very long list, many different things. It could be stormwater management, encouraging bigger tree canopy, plastic bag ordinance. There's many different things that we can do on that checklist to increase our feathers.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I just want to, reiterate that I'm really excited that we can do this for Anna. I remember I was at the township holiday party when she came up to me and was like, "Why aren't we a bird town? How did we become a bird town?" I was like, "Thank you. That's all I need. We're doing it." And, I'm sorry that it's taken as long as it has, but I'm really excited to have Monica's support. She knows all about it. And I think the biggest thing that we would be looking to move forward would be like working on a native tree ordinance. That's probably the next big nut to crack to keep our certification and keep things going. I know that's part of the saldo thing that you guys are working on, so I'm not sure if that's something that can be addressed separately, but everything that Birdtown like acknowledges is stuff that we all strive to do. So it completely aligns with our climate action plan, with our stormwater management plan, with our Parks and Rec comprehension plan. So, it really does sort of help bring us to the next level and help hold us accountable to doing those things. So I'm really excited that we're considering this today, and I really appreciate Monica and all of her effort to get this resolution before you guys today. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 26-12R, resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Middletown Township to adopt initiatives to be recognized as a Pennsylvania Audubon Council Birdtown.
Second. Motion and second. Any comments, questions? Okay. All those in favor of adopting the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next agenda item, consideration of resolution 26-13 to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Neshaminy School District for relocation of portion of walking trail along Langhorne Yardley Road. Mr. Esposito?
Thank you. As the board will recall, a few years ago, the Neshaminy School District received some land development approvals for its Maple Point campus to construct the Core Creek Elementary School. As part of that land development approval, they had to perform some traffic improvements, both along Woodburn and Langhorne Yardley Road. What we're going to talk about tonight is some of the traffic improvements along Langhorne Yardley Road. The township asked them at that time to try to coordinate with the PennDOT project that's going along in that area to try and connect everything with that. So the school district has to widen the road in front of the school along Langhorne Yardley Road. That will affect the walking trail that is along there right now. It has to get pushed back because of the widening. This walking trail was performed by the township on the property, I think somewhere around 8 to 10 years ago. It was part of a project that the township wanted to have walking connectivity to Core Creek Park. As this walking trail was requested and built by the township is going to take responsibility for relocating the trail as opposed to having the school district do it. We have spoken with Public Works. Public Works has said that they can actually perform the work and we would not have to bid it out with anybody. So it would be at the township expense, especially since the township was the one that originally installed it. If you have any questions on the specific type of work, Mr. Gartenmeyer could probably answer your questions. But we have to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the school district to allow us to do the work on their property.
And this, in the end, will save taxpayer money in general between both Neshaminy and
Yes,
Middletown.
so if we required the school district to do it, they would actually have to put it out and pay for a separate contractor to do it. This is work that the Public Works Department can do itself. So it would ultimately save the taxpayers money.
Thank you.
Mr. Gartmeyer, can you just briefly talk about the scope and cost of the work for your workers?
Yeah, so basically, we were asked by the school district, as Mr. Esposito said, looking at the project, it's not a huge project. It's something in our wheelhouse that we can do. Isaac from RBE, we went out and looked at it. It's realigning basically what's there. And it probably, in the big scope of things, it's not going to take that much to do. I mean, we've done bigger projects. As Mr. Esposito said, that there would have to be multiple contracts or whatever, bids going out to look at this and that. So that's why we thought it was a good idea for us to do it in-house.
So I know the labor's all going to be in-house, but what do you need in terms of materials or equipment that would be a...
We have all the equipment. Basically, you're going to pay for the stone and the blacktop is basically what it is. And it's not the whole trail. It's a section of the trail that needs to get realigned because of the turning lane that they want to put in for the school. So it's if you're familiar with that, which I'm sure you are, the driveway going up on the side on Langhorne Yardley Road, it would be to the right of that if you're going up the drive, and on the left. Has to get reconfigured. That's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to make a motion. I make a motion for approving resolution number 2613R to authorize the chair of the Board of Supervisors to enter into the proposed intergovernmental cooperation agreement with the Neshaminy School District, setting forth the terms and conditions by which Middletown Township will perform all work necessary to relocate and construct a segment of the pedestrian walking trail along Langhorne Yardley Road.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Board, any from the community? I just have a comment. I just want to say thank you for, solving a problem within our community. I appreciate that. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next agenda item, consideration to adopt resolution 26-14 to move forward with the Community Conservation Partnership Program C2P2 grant process for the Detective Chris Jones Memorial Playground rehabilitation.
So there's a grant opportunity right now that is open until April 30th, so this is a very timely request. As I was going through the budget, recognizing that you have $100,000 allocated to the Jones Park Playground, I quickly realized that $100,000 is not going to be enough, and we didn't really consider, surfacing and engineering as part of our cost estimate. This is a perfect grant because we already have money set aside. I did get some quotes on a potential playground. You can see before you a kind of sample. We did discuss police theme, also looking at the master plan for Parks and Recreation. Accessibility was very important. That's something that we really hadn't considered as part of the design before. So you see some texture, some imaginative play items. You see a rock around in the background that you can, roll right on, and everybody can participate and play together. So before you, that's kind of a sample of what we could do, not necessarily final product, but that's what the quote's based on in front of you today. The amount of the quote in total is $375,760. The grant, we would ask for a match of $187,880. So please recognize that this grant won't be awarded until the end of this year, early next year. So it would be a next year project. So it's something that we could plan for a little better financially. I had been working with Laura Huckelbridge to kind of discuss that plan out with her. And, that would be something that we'd have to talk about in the budgeting for next year.
Thank you. I think a lot of our grants, I think we find out about them in October and November, right? That's pretty much how we do it. Yeah. Thank you, Monica. I appreciate that. Questions?
Yeah, what is, I think one of the big cost increases here from what I've seen in the past when we've approved playground is the Dora Safe. Why, do we have that now in that playground, and what's the thought process about adding that in?
So DuraSafe it's a tile system. So we've had trouble in the past having installation in Middletown Township. We've had issues with installation of rubberized surface. Tile surface is something that we even could potentially teach our Public Works department to install and their tiles. So instead of like the shrinkage that you see in rubberized surfacing or a tear that's impossible to replace unless you replace the whole park, you only have to replace tiles. Instead, they last a lot longer. So it's much more durable than you would have to. And to be honest, that quote is if we have full install, not if we train our Public Works staff to. So I was trying to give you a very conservative type quote. So if our Public Works staff do install it, it would be a lot less.
Is the thought process we will have that type of surface going forward in all of our playgrounds?
Potentially, yeah. Yes, potentially having tile, maybe even the same color, then you can pull and peel them out and replace them throughout the whole park easily.
Yeah, well, maybe if that's what we're planning on doing moving forward, maybe it does make sense then if our own department can help install it just to save money, because that's going to be a repeated cost. Because like Supervisor Kane said, it is a sizable amount to have that installed.
How long do they last?
20 to 25 years.
So the same length of the playground, essentially?
About the same length as the playground, yeah.
Where would they get the training for the installation?
The company, Soft Surface, who installs them, is willing to offer training to our Public Works staff and even oversee the first time they install it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, I'm ready to make a motion. I make a motion to adopt Resolution 26-14 to move forward with the Community Conservation Partnership Program C2P2 grant process for the Detective Chris Jones Memorial Playground rehabilitation. Have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or statements from the board?
I would just say, I will send you an email. I know there was a resident that was really pushing for this playground to be finished and done. So if we are pushing it into next year, let's make sure we reach out.
Sure. Yeah.
Great.
Any other comments or statements from the community? Okay. I make all those in favor of the motion to adopt Resolution 26-14, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tierney. All right. Our next agenda item, consideration to, oh, we're done. Oh, we have department reports. All right. Yay. All right. Sorry. All right. First up, we have Department of Public Works. Mr. Gartenmeyer.
Just kidding. Good evening. So obviously we have, this winter was a challenging winter for us. Many snowstorms. My guys worked a lot of hours, unfortunately. We handled the snow, I think, pretty well. You know, we always have phone calls. We can't be everywhere in the township at the same time. We only have so many trucks, so many guys. We do have breakdowns in the wintertime with plows and vehicles and stuff. So all that's all taken into consideration. Also, with the salt kind of being the way it was this year, getting salt, we were grabbing it from wherever we could and things like that. We never ran out. I did get low a couple times. I'm just glad there wasn't a couple more storms, else we would have had to do some other things or try some other things. These pictures that you've seen are just our trucks out plowing, the small dumps, the big dumps, you know, plowing the streets for Middletown, trying to get them back open for the fire, EMS, police, and everything, and mainly for the residents too. That's just us going through our plows before the storms. The brine machine, we do use the brine. So that's the brine machine. We just cleaned that out for the season. So that got all cleaned out and we're ready to go for next year now. So we had to do a couple adjustments on it and fix a couple of things, but it's all good to go for next year now. That's just jobs that, you know, are continuous and it never stop. We always get calls for trees down. We're always doing stuff in our sign shop, making signs, doing stuff for parks. You know, you name it, any sign we kind of make and put up. That's just some drainage stuff we were doing. You know, that's on Big Oak Road. The drainage ditch, it was backing up. It was spilling out on the roadway. So we went up, cleared it out, and then cleared that out going down to the creek. On the right, that's also on Big Oak, was the box culvert for the drain that needed some work, so we cleaned it out. And that's going on right now, a lot of it. You know, when you get the weather, that it was so cold, the rain, the hot, cold, we get potholes all over. We do many potholes, unfortunately. And that's it. Any questions or anything?
No, I
Tried to
just
make it
want
as fast as I could. so.
No, thank you. I know you guys have been working hard all winter, and you're working on the potholes, and you help tremendously with Earth Day and all the events around the community, so we appreciate you.
That's why we're here.
I did have a quick question for you. I know I asked earlier about the salt levels. What is the current status of that? How is our salt stockpile looking at the moment?
We're stocked pretty good. I will be ordering more salt. So what we do every year is, because the salt price is going to go up next year. So we still have room. I'll figure out how much room we have. I will order salt again, and we'll stack it in our barn. And then next year, you don't have to worry for probably like 3-4 storms. That will be good to start off the new season without rushing to try to get salt or whatever. it's something we do every year, something I have done every year since I took over. It's just, sometimes like we ran into, it was very hard to get salt. Nobody had salt. I was calling all the way down to Baltimore actually to get salt. So that's how far we were reaching out to try to, make sure we had salt for the township. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Parks and Recreation Department with our new department head, Monica Tierney. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you. So we've been very busy trying to keep up with all of the cool projects that you had planned for the year. So we did have Community Cleanup Day on Saturday. We had about 30 to 35 volunteers in total clean up 5 different sites, which is really great. We had about 100 bags that we took away, giant bags that we took away, and pallets and chairs, and we even found a quad in the creek. So there was a whole bunch of cleanup that we did while we were out there, and the township, the neighborhoods that we cleaned up are better for it. It's really great. We have a tree planting on Saturday at Cobalt Ridge, along the green belt where we had recently just taken down a bunch of dead trees. We're replacing and putting in some new trees. I think it's about 15 or 16 trees that we're going to plant. That's at 9 a.m. if anybody wants to get dirty and help us. That would be wonderful. And then we also, as mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, have our Earth Day event coming up on April 25th. We're really looking forward to having you there. We do have, I think we're at something like 35 vendors. We have great sponsors. Robin Kemmerer Real Estate is sponsoring us for $2,000. Remington Vernick is sponsoring us for $500. And we also this year new is a Tesla sponsorship where they're actually they donated $500, but they're also going to do test drives on site so people can try them out and drive around, and they have a bunch of fun giveaways and things that they're bringing to the event. We are doing the tree giveaway like we always do. The AC is going to be doing that, and we have a bunch of entertainment, and you can see kind of the cost breakdown here. Our partners are Bucks County, Falls Township, Bristol Township, and Humeville Borough. 36 vendors, sorry. And we're going to have also horse-drawn carriage, so the most modern transportation and the oldest transportation all in the same event. Mojo Gypsies will be the band that will be there. On May 1st, we're going to have the renaming dedication for the new Anna Payne Park. Very excited for that day. That's going to be at 4 o'clock. We have, as part of that, we're installing this great garden at Cobalt Ridge Park around the new sign. It's a native garden with purple flowers for Anna. And there's also rocks in there as an homage to the rock. And we're also looking at getting a bike rack and maybe a couple tables to spruce things up at the park while we're getting things ready. 4Acre Landscaping is providing $1,000 in-kind sponsorship for that planting. And the Community Foundation is also donating $3,000 towards that project. Okay, so just to talk a little bit about what we've been doing in the first quarter, we served 832 families through our programs, which is really a great number at the beginning of the year. Very excited about that, and we've been, fielding phone calls, visits to the office, so very busy in the department. Oop. I skipped it, I'm sorry, I ruined it. Did I miss a slide? Okay, so as far as registrations, in the last 2 months is 368 registrations, 25 registrations, and 190 different profiles created in our system. On this slide here, you'll see our summer camps are doing great. The teen program, the summer camp at the barn, and the community center are all full. We're still working to fill Court Creek Park, but that is typically what I'm told, the last to be full, so we're still working through that. And then our basketball summer rec also usually doesn't start filling until Memorial Day, so we're on track, we're on trend for that program. As far as staffing, we're rolling through. We had a very competitive year this year for camp staffing. We did have to make some cuts and some hard choices, but we're just about finishing that process and starting to send out offer letters soon. Been working with Melissa and Joanne on that. And then for the basketball program, we are still bringing in some of the coaches, and this year we will be reffing our own games instead of hiring a reffing company. It's a little less money, and it is recreation basketball, so we don't really need professional refs. That was at the recommendation of Kyle, who runs the basketball program for us. As far as capital projects, Simmons tennis courts, we're still working through the RCO on that. Twin Oaks netting, the quote came in much higher than anticipated. I am communicating with MAA to see if there's some kind of partnership that we can do to try and get that price reduction. Camera and securities right now, or security cameras, I've been talking with the police chief about that to kind of see if maybe there's some input that they might want to have long-term, and maybe we need to approach it a little differently and more broadly, so we're having those conversations, just initial conversations. Senior Center, we haven't made much movement, but we did apply for a grant to try and fund the bathrooms there. And then you saw the Chris Jones Park presentation today. There was a bit of a, we're going to move to the next one. Thank you. I have been doing park inspections as I'm going through and recognizing that there's a lot of deferred maintenance that we have, and one of the biggest projects, or one of the big problem areas, was Twin Oaks Park. And here's some pictures and images of some of the things that we were facing at the beginning and some of the things that we were able to tackle already. So there was a wall that had been roped off for a long period of time, and I really want to thank Public Works. Dave Cavanna and Eric, they've been so great helping with these things as we were trying to muscle our way through before opening day. We were able to replace things like end caps on bleachers that were just dangling and ready to scrape a kid's leg, and the wall that was crumbling down, and major potholes on the walkway that we have elderly and senior citizens walking down to see their kids play. Benches that had splinters and were splintered. And on the next slide, there's just a few other MAA improvements. Now, the one on the bottom right, we intend to build a new dugout, but since it was so rotten, MAA did kind of put it, we called it the Band-Aid, on there just for this year to make it look a little more presentable. And they also have been working very hard in this field, and I just wanted to share that with you. This is really beautiful, and they've spent a lot of sweat equity. I saw them out there in the winter working on it, just rolling out the grass and, setting it all up. So they really did put a lot of time in there, so I did want to share that with you.
For Supervisors, Gallardo and Layton and I were there on Monday for the opening, Saturday for the opening, and it really did look great. And it looked like it had a facelift, but I do understand there's more work to be done.
Yeah. And then there's just some things at the barn, minor things that we were just finding, and Eric was very quick to get these things fixed. We had a raccoon problem. We had several different raccoons. We had a raccoon show up during yoga class just recently, so we were able to take care of those things. Thank you, Animal Control, really appreciate it. We're just doing some of our summer prep, so it's just some of the regular summer prep on top of some of the deferred maintenance items. And then I'm happy to say we have 2 new staff coming. One started today, Alex. She's really great. She's coming from St. Joe's University. She works in recreational athletics and intramurals, has a lot of great experience. Glad to bring her on board. Think she's going to be a great addition. She's going to be the program coordinator. And then we also have a local graduate who is going to be an intern for us. He has a planning degree, and environmental sustainability and planning are his specialties. With some of the conversations we've been having with the EACs, he's been a great fit. He's also been volunteering on the EAC for the past at least year. So he's been really involved. So we're glad to have him on board. He's going to help us talk through some of the environmental things that we've been working through. And he's going to help us in the department in general, just to kind of learn things around how Park and Rec go. So we're really excited to have him on board. So that's all I have for you. If anybody has any questions, glad to answer. And
yeah, I had one quick question, Monica, and thank you for the presentation. Welcome to our new staff members in Parks and Rec. I wanted to thank you for all the work you've done on the Anna Payne Park. I'm really looking forward to it, and I encourage all residents to come out. I think it's going to be a really special day. One comment I did want to make, when we were at MAA over the weekend, we did speak with Representative Jim Prokopiak about trying to get a grant to put some more money towards the Twin Oaks Park. And I would really like us to try to explore that, because anything we can do to save residents money, since you said like the netting in particular was a higher quote than we had expected. Any way we could save money and work with him to get a grant, he seemed very open to the idea. So just wanted to put that out there. I think that's something that we should definitely pursue, because, you know, me and Christian talk often about Levittown needs more love, you know, and in our neck of the woods. So anything we can do to help get Twin Oaks Park funded and save residents money, I'm definitely all for it.
Same here. Jim was definitely very excited for us to give him a list and costs and needs to help out with that park, and us talking with the heads of the MAA over there. There's a lot of concerns with fencing and safety concerns, stuff like that. That definitely should be taken care of. I appreciate you taking care of some of the things that you just showed in your slides, because that's, my daughter goes there. We're there all the time, and seeing some of those things finally get addressed after a long period of time is appreciated. So just want to say thank you, and hopefully we keep continuing to keep both of our parks, you know, on the same level instead of, you know, one getting more than the other.
Great, perfect. I'm on board.
Thank you. Okay, next we have additional reports, but they're read-only, so if you would, if you're interested, you can see them on the website. And at this point, we have other business. Any other business?
We do have a few things for signature, if three of you wouldn't mind sticking around for a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Nothing further than that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Esposito?
Yeah, I did want to announce that the board did hold multiple executive sessions, one on April 6th, 2026, one on April 9th, 2026, and one immediately prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel matters. That's it.
Thank you. Anything from the board?
Nothing further.
Okay. All right, I make a motion to adjourn. Second. We are adjourned.